Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast for the next 7 days, plus an update on the severe weather risks developing this Sunday around southern parts of Australia, thanks to that southern storm. Let's make more sense of what is going on at the moment. We've got this active cold front crossing through Tasmania. By the time you're watching this, it's likely already cleared away out to sea. A few thunderstorms in the mix there, and one or two also around the coastal parts on the boundary between South Australia and Victoria. But those showers really do taper off the further you go up into South Australia. The front most energetic around Bass Strait and moving across Tasmania this morning. Elsewhere, not very much to talk about. A little bit of cloud here and there, but otherwise fairly dry, fairly settled around Australia. Here's the situation. So we've got a few things on the go. First of all, we've got that weak cut-off low pressure system stuck over Queensland at the moment. That's going to drift out to sea over the coming days and going to produce a wee bit of rain as it does so, getting that fuel off the warm sea. High pressure is though out to the east, keeping much of eastern parts of Australia calm and mostly dry until that low moves away. And high pressure is also around Western Australia and to some degree in the southeast. So most of the stormy stuff is well south of Australia at the moment. You got those thunderstorms this morning caught up with that cold front, but apart from that, things aren't too bad for now. Things are going to change by the time we get to Sunday. Here on Friday into the afternoon, not a huge amount going on. Windy still to some degree around Tasmania, but maybe a couple of degrees warmer as the nor'wester comes on back. High pressure just to the north here and another big high moving in towards Perth. So fairly settled in most places, but there is that weak low pressure zone, basically a trough moving out over the sea, getting some energy back into it again. And that's why we're seeing some wet weather coming in to the northeast corner of New South Wales and the southeast corner of Queensland. Tapers off as you come down towards Sydney, not expecting much there, maybe a shower or two. Similar story around Melbourne. Hobart looks dry, Adelaide looks dry, Perth has a couple of showers, and Darwin also looks dry. Sorry if I've forgotten someone else in there. Here is Saturday. High pressure, pretty much in control, moving through around the Great Australian Bight, South Australia area. That is moving through and ballooning out into New South Wales. But we do get a bit of a severe weather risk as a result of the storms much further south and that high moving along, and it makes for a windy squash zone. So that's why we see that purple box returning. There is a severe weather risk in Tasmania on Saturday, thanks to the winds coming back in again. Also some rain over on the west coast and a little bit wintry along the boundary here, places like Mount Gambier, coming down towards Melbourne and certainly going down around Tasmania, that colder airflow once more moving back in. But apart from a few showers here and there, we're not really seeing too much activity around Australia on Saturday, mostly due to that high pressure zone. And that high moves right out, moving along very quickly, zipping out to sea by Sunday, already moving out to the Tasman Sea by the time we get into the afternoon, which means now we've got room for the new storm to form, and that's what we see later into Sunday. So the purple box you see around Western Australia, that is the area basically from Geraldton all the way down to the southwest corner where you've got a chance of that windy weather kicking in. Now, it may not be till later in the day. It may not be like until the very end of the day for some of you, or even at nighttime, as that all develops. So it's going to form quite fast. There is a significant southerly portion coming in with that. Now I've got some wind maps to show you once we get through the normal 7-day forecast. That's because it's a little bit easier to have it kind of separated like that. Otherwise you can all get a wee bit confused about the timing of everything. But here is Sunday night, and now we jump to Monday, and there is the centre of the storm directly south of Esperance, Western Australia, and the severe weather risks now cover the southern half of Western Australia and a large part of South Australia, mostly in the form of windy weather. So whether it's gale force, which is a little problematic, more frustrating and annoying because it can cause dust storms and other issues like that. But once it starts to get up over 80 and 90 k's an hour, that's when you start to have branches being broken and power outages more likely. So that is possible, all inside that purple box going right up to the border of Victoria basically. And then east of that, not too much going on. Bit of wet weather still on the eastern coastline, pretty much Port Macquarie going north of the Sunshine Coast. That's the zone there where you're getting some showers or some bit of rain even getting stuck in there. But for most other areas here in the east, not too much going on just yet. It's kind of the calm before the storm, if you like, as that system is moving quite quickly along the southern coastline from west to east, just like that high pressure zone is moving quickly from west to east. And by Monday, it's already gone right out to sea. And by Tuesday, it's not part of Australia really anymore. Just a little bit kind of clipped onto the east here, but caught up in a few showers, you'll barely notice it. So what we are noticing though is between the incoming low moving to the east and that high pressure system, this is the windy squash zone in here with these northwesterly winds. So damaging winds are possible in the purple box here, which spreads right out across Victoria, particularly in the southern part of the Alps. That's where you could be seeing some really strong northerly gusts over the hills. Locals will know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. And that windy weather pushes over Bass Strait and into Tasmania. So like I say, I've got wind maps in a moment to break that down a wee bit more. Wednesday of next week, what a remarkable map. Huge area of stormy weather south of Australia, and it's only just brushing southern parts of Western Australia, a little bit of South Australia like Kangaroo Island, and even then doesn't look that bad, but you're just on the edges of it still. And pretty windy again around Tasmania with another burst of even colder airflow coming in, and so that could put a little bit more snow back on the tops there. Maybe not quite so much further up though, because once you're into the Australian Alps, you've got the northerly wind and some rain there, so it's not quite as cold as the neighbours are down in Tasmania. And for Norfolk Island, monitoring this low, this storm potentially developing just south of Fiji next week, which may also bring in some damaging winds and heavy rain there, although the modelling is certainly not locked in with that. It's been moving it around a wee bit. And Thursday next week, not as much severe weather around, you'll be pleased to know. Not as cold in the southeast. I don't know if that's good news or bad, but there is some rain around still, and that might produce a few thunderstorms also up around the ACT and inland parts of New South Wales, but not a huge amount of energy with that system there. Winds are easing in the southeast, but it's still windy. Places like Port Lincoln over to Kangaroo Island, still windy in that small part of South Australia, and certainly a bit windy around the southern coastline of Western Australia with some of those showers off the sea still a little bit heavy. So let's get into the wind gust maps. I'll try and make sense of this quickly for you. Here is 11 o'clock Sunday night. Everything you see here in purple out at sea is into that damaging wind gust where most likely over 100 kilometres an hour, maybe up to 120 as that front comes in. Windiest weather looks to be south of Bunbury, mostly like places like Augusta. And as the night goes on, that purple moves very quickly around to Albany, and it's going to be moving along the southern coastline, heading off towards South Australia and Victoria. So that is Sunday night it comes on in. This is 2 o'clock Monday morning, so just a few hours later. You can see how quickly this is moving along. So Albany in the thick of it now, and obviously all those areas. It does fade off north of Bunbury, but Perth's still going to be windy right across Sunday night, Monday morning. But the worst of the winds are down here to the south. Now further eastwards around Esperance, you're in that red shading, which is gale force. That can cause some problems, but these are wind gusts. It's not sustained at these speeds. It means that it's gusting up to 110, 120 kilometres an hour, especially with those showers, which can be quite squally. And then we zip along, 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, Esperance in the thick of it now with the worst of the winds. But like I said yesterday, the placement of the centre makes all the difference for that one zone. If the low goes a little further south, all of that severe weather goes with it. If the low nudges a bit closer, severe weather expands into more populated places. So that's why we're watching this closely. Now, if you move around to places like Ceduna, that wind picks up, the cold front comes through for you as we go across Monday afternoon, and that's when those damaging winds now start to become more of a threat for South Australia, which takes us through till Tuesday morning. Now, this isn't totally locked in this far out, but you get the idea, the cold front coming through here, Whyalla, down to Adelaide, getting that cold front with gusts anywhere around 90 kilometres an hour, perhaps up to 100. It is, generally speaking, reducing in its power as it moves eastwards. Still pretty much light winds like Sydney, Canberra, down towards Hobart. But remember, that windy weather is moving eastwards. And so as we get to our last map here, 1 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, you're seeing some very strong gusts up around the Victoria Alps. Could be, especially on the southern side of them, some very strong, potentially damaging gusts in that zone. Like I say, it's a long way out to be locked in just yet, and the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia, they're the ones that do the official warnings for you, so keep an eye on them next week around that area. But windy along the coastline, and obviously windy weather moves into Tasmania. The positive news I've got for you is that it does look like, as it comes into to the very east here, it's starting to fall apart to some degree. 7-day rainfall now to take a look at. Nothing really alarming in there. There's a wee bit of wet weather piling up around northern and western sides of the mountains here, around the ACT and certainly around the Victorian Alps, and then coming down into Tasmania, the west coast, getting 60, 70 millimetres or so. And we might just see that around the northern rivers, Brisbane area, on the coastline itself. Further inland, those numbers jump right down, or drop right down, I should really say. So we've got a little bit of wet weather coming inland at the bottom of the scale, 1 to 5 millimetres here and there, and the southwest corner with all of those showers and cold fronts, that does start to add up, and you could be seeing 60, 70 millimetres over the next week just in that southwest corner. Okay, well, before I go, I think it's time to show you the old flight sim. Flight of the day today, sorry for the wobbly start there. We're over the top of Albany, because why not? Western Australia is going to be in the thick of this windy storm. Straight off the sea out here, this is looking south towards Antarctica, over the top of Albany. Population 35,000 people living here, and there are lots of smaller towns that all connect into it. Maximum temperatures, 12 to 17 degrees. From a New Zealand perspective, that doesn't sound too bad, but certainly it's a bit colder at the moment with that weather coming through. The wind farm along here is going to be either probably not working because it's too windy, or they'll be operating and making a whole lot of electricity as that stormy weather comes right in off the coastline, and it starts Sunday night and it peaks around Monday and Tuesday of next week. I'll be back again tomorrow Friday as we take a closer look at the weekend and obviously the stormy stuff on the way for southern parts of Australia. I'll see you then.